Welcome to the Real Estate Profiting Podcast with Tobars Dobbs.
They said that I couldn't do it, so I went and did it. W's only, you know I've been winning. Top of the world, the globe is spinning. If you know, you know I've been on a mission. Go. Okay, let's get it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Real Estate Profiting. I have something amazing in store for you guys today. My friend, colleague, Mr. Wole Oyenuga.
You got it right.
Okay.
You got it right.
CEO of the Sims Real Estate Group. They're doing some amazing real estate projects here in the Metro Atlanta area. We're gonna pull out some gems for you guys on how he's doing this, and making millions in the real estate business. Wole, thanks for joining me on Real Estate Profiting.
Pleasure, Tobars. Appreciate it.
Take us and show us inside of one of these amazing houses you're building.
Okay, all right, great. So the area we're in is kind of the upper west side of Atlanta.
Okay.
This is a neighborhood, it's a hidden pocket. To me, it's a hidden gem. It's called Carver Hills.
Carver Hills.
So when we saw this area, we had always wanted to kind of reimagine and reinvent like how housing could be done. And taking that inspiration from mid-century modern design and create our own take on what that would be here today.
Y'all found 3 lots.
Yep.
And said, you know what? Let's build it.
Again, it's a work in progress because we want to, we always believe in iterative change. So how can we see how the first one could work out, and then how can we take that to the next level? And I think I mentioned to you before, we do affordable housing.
Yeah.
So our goal is not to just make this high-end housing, but to take some of the things we learned here, kind of like in a car, like you take some of the stuff from the S-Class and move that to the C-Class.
Got it.
Take some of the same stuff we learned from here and move into our affordable products.
These 3 houses right here is a prototype that essentially you all plan on scaling larger than on 3 lots.
Yeah. If these houses can help a lot of people, how many people can we help? And we prefer that number to be in the thousands, than in the hundreds.
I love it. Well, give us a tour, man. Let's take a look at it.
All right, so here's the front profile view. It's low pitched roof. And so again, a lot of what we are focused on is, again, climate change is real. So how do we make a high performance house?
Okay.
A house that uses as much energy, or produces as much energy as it uses, right?
Got it.
Even in another ideal sense, maybe a house that produces more energy than it uses. So we actually send them, energy back to the grid.
Selling it back.
Yeah, and then, so even just beyond selling, you're like, hey, we could actually be power generators versus like power users, right? And just living your everyday life, right? So that was our vision. How can you make the planet better, but you're just living your everyday life? The sun is in certain areas, it goes east, kind of south to the west. And so it depends on how your house is oriented, depends on how much sun it's gonna get, right? Because once it's on the other side, it's not gonna get any sun. So lower pitched roof, talk to some solar guys, the lower the pitch the roof, then you can get solar almost all throughout the day, right? And then a little bit of pitch, because it was a flat roof, you have water intrusion issues because water's not completely rolling off. So we're thinking like, okay, again, from the affordability standpoint, like how do we make sure this thing can last for a long time, but can get the most solar energy that you get? So the pitch of the roof, of course, is right here, the pitch of the roof. And most roofs kind of have a bigger angle like that there. So this pitch here and on the main roof here is going down at just like a 112 pitch. So minimal pitch, but enough to get water off the house. But at the same time, it's got plenty of, you got daylight all throughout the day. So here, most of the outdoor living, and this is something that's debatable, is gonna be on the rear and the inside of the house, which you'll see later, which is in the courtyard there.
Got it.
This will have the driveway coming out exactly where you are now. It has some plants, some planters here. We're probably gonna have an ode to the mid-century modern by having something that they call breeze block. As these blocks have these designs. You see like some mid-century modern houses, you'll see that on some of those.
Okay.
So we're gonna try and make this, again, very appealing. It has some privacy, but that's plenty of light coming through. Right there is gonna be actually a window of light coming through as well. Again, when you do a high performance houses cost more money. So what we wanna do is make a very functional, smaller house. So that's why it feels like as soon as you walk in, you feel it's cooler, because we have spray foam on the interior walls, we have spray foam on the ceiling. We actually have this zip sheathing on the outside. But outside, just beyond zip sheathing, we have this zip sheathing that has insulation. So in essence, we're covering the whole house like with a blanket of insulation, which makes sure there's no like thermal breaks. So just a very efficient house. It's very tight, very efficient house, right? We wanted to break up the space a bit. So this is actually like your office areas. You can put a desk right here. There's laundry here, specifically designed it so there was a window here so you can look out in the courtyard as you're working from home.
Got it.
And then you got 2 bedrooms in the back here. A designed partition wall right here. And we could walk the bedrooms here too. So modest size, but just enough to feel right. Some old to mid-century modern design where we have the wood grain, and I just feel like the wood grain, just natural floors, natural wood, just kind of has it gives you a nice feeling of like
it does.
A warm outside but not absolutely inside type of feel. Minimalistic trim, lots of windows in the house here. As you can see, I feel like mid-century modern kind of like strikes the perfect blend, right? Because you got that little bit of warmth because you have the trim, you have the windows, you have the slants in the roof, you have the indoor-outdoor play that makes you feel a lot more comfortable and warm.
Gotcha.
Like
so that's the secondary bathroom there.
Secondary bathroom.
And bedroom.
Okay, it's not Jack and Jill, a Jack.
Okay, just Jack, not Jill.
Jack, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wonder what think the kids will be fighting over which one gets which room.
Yeah, I know. Maybe so, or maybe you want your own privacy and nobody walk into your bedroom from the bathroom.
Absolutely.
So you got that there. Plenty of windows in the hallway here too. Tall ceilings here.
I love it.
So about 14, 15 feet tall here.
Okay.
Again, I love the wood elements, so I wanted to make sure we use real hardwoods here. In the future, at a lower price, we might do LVP, but wood grain on the cabinets, and when all the match with that, and the doors to bring the warmth. And this is the courtyard out here.
Okay.
Now it's unfinished. You don't get to see the glory of what the courtyard will be.
Okay.
But again, the vision being that, in my mind, like science has shown, sunlight, vitamin D. We don't get enough vitamin D. We're inside too much, right? So we're inside too much. We're not getting enough sun. The best thing to do is first thing in the morning, get out there. To me, it's hard when you're living in a regular house to say, I'm going to go outside and go for a walk. To me, it's another thing when your secondary living room is like, is outside.
Exactly.
Right? So that's why I say in the living room, we want to design it where it was just a seamless entry to the outside. All the windows, you just feel like you're part of nature. If you look in the back, there's trees back there. It's still within the privacy of your own home because there'll be a fence here. You can put chairs out there. You can put a TV screen out there if you wanted to.
You got it.
But you've got your own internal, like personal courtyard and outside area that you call your own.
I love it.
Right?
I love it. I love it. You know, and you see that a lot with the mid-century modern design.
Yeah.
You know, you see the small courtyard.
Yeah.
You know, in the property also.
Yeah. You get a residential garden. Anything.
Wow, this is beautiful. Show us the owner's suite.
Okay, I'll show you back there too. So, keep with the same theme, indoors, outdoors. You figure as the owner, you want to wake up, step outside, and walk out to your own patio with your own outside little forest out there, even though you're in the city.
Yes.
To be able to go through that.
Love it.
In your own privacy. And then here's the master bath. You can't completely see it because we were painting recently.
Okay.
But I think the tile is beautiful.
Yeah, I can look at it and tell it's nice
herringbone pattern here. You know, even something as simple as this, like we really try to take a lot of thought. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. So just like the simple things you learn over time as you use a house and design a house. We're not just trying to build a house just to sell. It's like, how do we build it so that it's more functional? So like even the drain here, although people do the tile on the drain here, but we did the linear drain that's got one of those basket strainers. So like when the hair starts clogging up there, you can pull that out, clean that out, and you don't have these clogs that keep happening that was happening in these showers. So little things we're trying to think of like that were like, how will make this house feel better?
Absolutely, and you know, the buyers appreciate it, right?
Yeah.
The buyers appreciate it.
And they might not appreciate it day one because they might not know about it day one, but as they live here longer and longer, like, man, this house is where I want to be. Like my vision was really that even though you're buying a smaller house, you may buy this house and say, I look at like $1 million houses, I don't feel like moving because they don't have the same character that my house has. Right. It doesn't have to be big to be luxurious. You could have something here, be mentally satisfied with where you're at, and be able to pursue other things versus trying to chase the next big house, next big neighborhood. You just have luxury like right here.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of price point, what will the price point be of this home?
These one would be in the high 500s is the plan for these houses.
Okay.
So 500s. We do a lot of affordable housing too, where we're building houses in the $200,000 range up to like the $300,000 range.
Okay.
And so some of the same stuff we learned from this, we're going to take to those. It will cost a bit more on the sheathing, but by that standpoint, and the affordable houses, we can get those to, we call this like net zero ready. We can get this to almost those affordable houses to the same net zero ready standard as these, with just a little bit more input.
Awesome.
So,
awesome, amazing. How are you all going to like provide information or be involved with the buyers, you know, regarding the solar, like once they buy? Are you all going to kind of like help them with their process, or just going to kind of let them know, well, hey, this is available to you if you want it. If not, that's fine. We've
contacted 2 solar companies to get quotes about how much it costs to put the solar system in here to make these net zero ready and what those tiers are. So somebody, say, hey, I just want the panels, right? The panels supplies enough power for the house now, but at nighttime, obviously, it's not doing anything for the house. The next level up is that with batteries, and then how much batteries you get. So we got all that pricing all lined up for them. So once they buy the house, they can say, hey, I want to upgrade to this. Hey, we'll put you in touch with the solar company of your choice, and you can go ahead or at least fortunately, you know, it's pre-wired for that, so you can go ahead and get that done.
Awesome. So you're just gonna basically just gonna let them know that that opportunity is there. I mean, you all aren't gonna necessarily participate in that in any way.
No. At this point, it's gonna be all of the owner. We just wanna make sure, like, it's almost like an upgrade package. Like, if you want to upgrade to it, again, because we don't specialize in solar, we want the experts to do their thing. But like, we talked to 2 different guys to say, okay, hey, what if they went with you or we went with you, what would work? And we did, so we ran the conduit enough so that it could work for both situations.
Understood. I think it's a great idea. You know, obviously, you know, I'm sure it's something that you all have probably thought about, right? Because if y'all plan to build thousands of these, there's going to be a huge solar opportunity there as well, right? So,
that's a good point. I mean, eventually it'd be great to get into that space or partner with somebody to get in that space.
Exactly.
But again, our vision still was like, hey, if we can make houses that, again, can produce more energy than the houses actually use, and I mean, that could help climate change a ton, because you think how much energy houses use.
Absolutely.
Right? And a lot of it has to do with the government and how like regulations happen. If they could appraise that stuff, where we could put that on there, and somebody could just put in their 30-year mortgage, we would do that in a heartbeat, right?
Gotcha.
We just want to make sure that when we sell the house, we can get that, whatever money we put towards that. Like, they'll pay for the square footage of the house, but they typically won't pay for the solar panels.
Yeah.
Right? Once they're able to, maybe legislation changes and they do that, I think that'd be a good model. And we don't mind people copying us. We're like, please do that. Like,
and I mean, it makes sense, right? Because I can see where there's a path to someone buying a home like this, right? Installing the solar panels, producing enough energy to sell back to the grid to now offset their mortgage, right? I don't know if, or maybe pay for the mortgage. I don't know how much energy they produce, but like, I see a path to that. Beautiful project, man.
Thank you, man.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Coming out, take a look at it. One thing to keep in mind with high efficiency houses, they're very tight. That's the goal, to make it tight, because you want as little energy going out of the house as possible.
Gotcha.
So we had to upgrade the HVAC. That's the one thing that typically we had to end up doing.
Gotcha.
So we had to have makeup air coming in the house, to have fresh air coming in the house, because it's so tight, and then a dehumidifier. But all that stuff.
You have a dehumidifier, a whole house dehumidifier?
Whole house dehumidifier.
I love it. I love it. In fact, let's go see the back of the structure.
And then the filtration system. So the good thing with that, when I talk about health-wise, not just mental health but physical health, is the idea that now you have, again, cleaner air that you're living with.
Exactly.
House, right? And more comfortable environment that you're living with, because people don't realize not just the air blowing at you that makes the house comfortable, it's the total environment, the humidity, the cleanliness of the air.
Quality.
Exactly.
Yeah, you're the first real estate professional I've had a conversation with, builder, and talked about, you know, the mental health aspects of a home. Like, how can you build a house taking into the consideration mental health of the buyer?
When we thought about it, like, bigger picture, we were really into the idea of, hey, how can we like help human potential and capacity, right? As a whole. So when we think about that and make the world a better place, whether it's here, whether it's in Africa, or somewhere else, and then we start here, you realize like the house and your environment and the community and the neighborhood are simply like other avenues and tools to make that happen. So it helped expand our mind to thinking like, how do we make a house better? If the goal is to make somebody's life better, and we use the house to do that, let's think outside the box to figure out how we make that happen.
I love it, man. I love it. I love it. That says a lot about you as an individual, right? And your partner, right? Because, you know, and I'm looking forward to sitting down and talking about it, because there's a lot to unpack there. You know, because when you go from, I mean, obviously you've married, you know, your, you know, the things that you appreciate in life, right? Obviously you appreciate, you know, human potential, and obviously your own, right? Obviously you love construction and real estate, and you figured out a way how to meld the three. So that's amazing. We're gonna unpack that, because we're gonna unpack that.
All right, great, cool.
Awesome, man. Thanks a lot for that tour.
Happy to do it, man. Thank you for coming on it.
Absolutely, it was amazing. You built an amazing product here on this corner. I'm sure the buyers are gonna be extremely happy. You
that's the goal.
I love it, man. So look, let's, you know, the real estate property community is a community of like-minded individuals that are just interested in real estate. You know, they're interested in learning about real estate, learning about the real estate business, you know, how to invest in real estate, and the whole 9 yards. You've been in this business for about 20 years or so. Let's get into your story, man.
Okay, all right.
So, where are you from?
So, originally from like Maryland, DC area is where I call home.
Okay, Maryland. Okay, gotcha. Now, you know, I did a little snooping around, and, you know, I saw on your LinkedIn, you know, you attended Sanford. Okay, and what did you study at Sanford?
I studied something called manufacturing systems engineering.
Systems engineering?
Yeah.
Okay, okay.
So it's kind of a cross between mechanical engineering. So my undergrad, I went to a school called Carnegie Mellon. Most people don't know about it, but it's a school in Pittsburgh, engineering school. Studied mechanical engineering there in business. Right? I graduated, I was like, I don't know if I can really engineer stuff just yet. That's just me.
Okay.
So I was like, let me go to grad school, let's figure this thing out a bit more. So I mixed between, again, I was thinking the world's gonna become more global, so more like supply chain. So I mixed kind of manufacturing and business together in industrial engineering, which is how things kind of like come together in terms of as you're manufacturing something together. So I got my master's in that.
So you're an engineer by training?
Yeah, by training, yeah. I'd say engineer by training, yeah.
Okay, okay, interesting, man. So, you know, I always like to find out, like, what was it that interests people into real estate and that story? Because there's always a story behind it, right?
So yeah, mine's funny. So I was the engineer. I didn't stay an engineer too long. I kind of went into management fairly quickly.
Okay.
But then my other passion was music. So I was a songwriter. Right, so that's one reason I came to Atlanta was to pursue my songwriting career.
Really?
I was like, yeah, cause like I got to say stuff out the way. Let me go ahead and like hit my dreams, like full steam ahead. So I came to Atlanta. I was working corporate. I was doing music. I started making some progress and connections in music where I felt like, okay, you know what, I'm at this threshold where if I put more time into it, I can see myself going further. Okay. But if I stay doing what I'm doing, I'm going to be limited to what I can do.
Gotcha.
So I said, okay, hey, it's time to go ahead and quit and roll the dice and make it happen. So I quit, cashed out my retirement, and started doing music full time. But then again, I have to be realistic, like, okay, this is only going to work so long, right? Cash is what kills most businesses. Okay. So it's like, let me see about real estate. So I got interested in real estate. One of my other business partners, he was in the music business and went into real estate, and we were talking about real estate and how we could actually, like, I hate the term flip, but flip houses, sell houses, and it could be a source of cash flow. It's like, that makes perfect sense. Like, I've got some engineering knowledge, maybe it could be helpful in that. And so I started flipping houses, or developing houses as supplemental income while I pursued my music. So that's how I got into it.
Interesting, man. I did not know that about you. So you were writing music, or you were a singer?
Nah, I was behind the scenes person.
You're a writer.
Just writing music. Yeah, writing songs, writing music.
Interesting.
And then eventually, I always like to take a step back and look at like where my goals are going and how things are actually transitioning or transpiring in real life. Okay. And I evaluated after a certain number of years to see how I was doing with the music, and it wasn't going exactly the way I wanted it to go. Gotcha. So I said, it's time to make some big boy decisions. I was like, you know what? I think the real estate is making more sense right now than the music is. So I put up my pen and pursue music.
Gotcha. So no more writing at all.
No more writing at all. Every once in a while, I do come in my head and like I record my phone, but that's where it is right now.
I got you.
Yeah, once I get some more time, maybe I'll go back and revisit it. But right now, no more writing at all.
People come to real estate from all walks, right? Yeah. And your path took you from engineering to songwriting, right, to real estate. Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I love it. In fact, I don't know if you recall, like when we first met, but you were developing houses at that time. You were, I know you don't like the term flipping houses, but actually, there was a gentleman that he was doing some work for me. He was also doing some work for you.
Yeah, Marion.
Marion, exactly. And he had asked me, had I met you before? And I was like, no, I haven't. And he was like, man, you should meet him. And he gave me your number, and that's how we got connected.
Yeah. And you showed me that deal in West End. It's not West End.
Yep. It was in West End, or Westview.
Westview.
Yep.
Exactly. Westview.
Yep. So we've done at least one transaction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I think we probably tried a few more. Yeah. But you run a tight ship, and a very disciplined investor. So I couldn't get you to bite on many of the others.
Hey, one thing I learned in real estate is you make your money when you buy the property.
Absolutely, man. Well, look, so do you renovate anymore, or you don't even renovate at all anymore?
We renovate. I mean, our goal is to transition to single family new construction, right? Okay. And not just single family. So because actually now we do both single family and multifamily. So we're doing a whole lot more stuff. Okay. This is our single family arm. We do renovations because we do affordable housing, and sometimes with affordable housing, like the city of Atlanta has, like for instance, has bought some land in English Avenue, not land, but houses. Okay. So we'll renovate those houses to create more affordable housing. Yeah, one of our big missions is, again, we believe in going back to the whole mindset thing. So not more than mental health, but mindset, is that mixed income communities produce and create the right environment for people to meet their full potential, right? So if you're concentrated in poverty, what you see is what you see. Yeah. Even if you're concentrated in wealth, that mindset of just whatever the way people think in that way is what you'll think that way. But a mix of people and mix of ideas is what makes our brain start, activating again. So to us, creating mixed income neighborhoods is the goal. So that's why we do some of our stuff in affordable housing, and then we do some, market rate housing as well too.
Excellent, amazing, awesome. I know, obviously, we kind of connected over in the West End area. Obviously, this area here it's kind of northwest, not so much, southwest. It's kind of northwest. But it's still relatively in the city, right? It's still relatively in the city of Atlanta. Do you all kind of focus your projects in the city and close in? Yeah,
right now we're focused on the southwest and west/northwest side of Atlanta.
Okay.
Right, so that's where 99% of our stuff is. And it's just, one, it's easier. We like working with the city because the city is very progressive and it's trying to meet some goals, and we feel like it's a good partnership.
Great.
We like to be in areas that are emerging, right? So it's tough to do, again, our vision of affordable housing in, say, City of Decatur or Kirkwood where we used to work, because the prices are so much higher than where we know the areas that we're going into will soon be like that. But if we can put our footprint on there now, we can create some permanently affordable housing, we can create some nice housing in those areas before it starts blowing up into something else.
I love it.
So,
I love it.
But we're open to going anywhere, honestly. Like, again, the rest of the city, outside the city, wherever our product can make sense. And our goal is to grow, so we're in the Southeast, period.
I know you mentioned that you all are working with the city quite a bit. Like, when and how did you all say, you know what, let's go and see what the city has to offer, see if they have any resources or opportunities for us.
That's a good question. It's so that came about by, again, our mission was to kind of create a more mixed income neighborhood. So we thought we could we believe in sustainability. So like sometimes the market moves quicker than, say, government does, right? We're just able to build houses and just get the things moving. But we realized as we're doing stuff that, hey, you actually need some subsidy to make these things happen, right? Because the cost of construction, the cost of land acquisition, it's not sustainable to build. Sometimes it's just not sustainable to build like lower cost housing and at a loss, for instance, right? Ideally, you want to be able to do it for a profit, so it's a win-win situation, right? The win-lose model is not a sustainable model. Eventually, the loser is going to go out of business, right? So the way that we were able to make that happen was working with the city, and the city, because the city has the same mission, right? And they need guys who can move quickly to get the thing done and who have the expertise to get the thing done, because their expertise is not in building houses or developing houses or the whole process. It's more so facilitating it and a lot of other stuff behind the scenes. So we worked a lot with, we still continue to work with groups like Invest Atlanta. Invest Atlanta has been a great partner with us. They helped us acquire about 50 lots over in the Grove Park area. This is before Market Talk was launched, and we pledged to do a certain number of affordable units, like 40 affordable housing units in that area, along with our market rate stuff, for some money contributed towards the project. We're doing some stuff in English Avenue and Vine City, where we partner with them, and there's a group called the Atlanta Land Trust. Atlanta Land Trust creates permanent affordable housing. And again, from a sustainable standpoint, the great thing with that model is instead of just saying, we're gonna give $50,000 to a homeowner to go ahead and bring down the price of the house, they go in and buy the land in advance. The land, they keep the land, so it's deed-restricted as affordable. And then the house is what's sold. So it's creating affordable, like a home ownership model, right? And so with that, the Invest Atlanta has been a great partner with that. The Land Trust has been a great partner with that. There's lots of other groups that, it's no longer the Atlanta Affordable Housing Fund, but there's a housing fund, some not-for-profits that have started up to help, the Reinvestment Fund, ANDP, that have been able to give low-interest loan products to help make that happen. So the great thing is that they understand business, they understand, again, we have a need to make money as well too. We're not a not-for-profit, but they're, again, same mission, find different ways to blend the ingredients together and make a product that works, that serves the people that need to get served, and then makes it a sustainable business model.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Most, and that's one of the reasons why I like having conversations with you, Wole, because you're so knowledgeable on these different aspects of the real estate industry, definitely on a local level, whereas that's not the norm, right? When you go to real estate investor events and so on and so forth, with individual investors, most of them have never heard of the things that you just mentioned, right? So I think that's very key for investors to realize, is that it doesn't matter what city that they're in, what city, what county, what state, the city, county, and the state, they have missions.
Yeah.
And if they can just simply align their mission with the mission of that municipality, you know, more than likely they have some resources that they can offer to help, you know, further projects.
Exactly. And to me, it's a good way of thinking outside the box, because sometimes you want to compete against the big boys. Like, you can't they have more resources than you, right? It's tough to compete. It's good to think outside the box and say, hey, if they have that mission aspect, the big guys aren't thinking about that, but I can focus on that. You can find a way to build your company, your brand, your business, align it with their mission and get that done. And also, when everybody else is worrying about a recession. Well, even in a recession, the governments typically have money to build housing, right?
This is true.
You can still survive in that environment too. So to me, I think from a sustainable business model thing, it's also a good way to think of it as this is another way, or almost a division of my business that I can use that's sustainable, that it makes money, and I'm diversifying my business enough where I can stand against the headwinds of some economic downturn or something like that.
It makes perfect sense, man. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, I know the last project I saw you working on was the project you mentioned, I think over in Adair Park.
Yeah.
How many homes were
we
those?
built 9 homes. Let's say it's 9. I keep losing track now. 9 homes in Adair Park.
I love it. And so those moved on.
Yeah, so those moved on. Those were historic homes. I'm actually part of the Historic and Preservation Committee at Adair Park.
Okay.
So yeah,
they recruited you.
They recruited me. So I'm part of that there too. But over in that area now too, when I talk about some of the bigger projects we're doing now, we're doing some multifamily of that. So there's a project we're working with a group called the Guild in Sylvan Hills area.
Sylvan Hills.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're taking the old, I forgot what it was. It's an old building. We're turning it into a grocery store and some apartments above, and creating like one of the first co-op models where the people in the neighborhood can buy into that. We're one of the finalists for Murphy's Crossing, which is the big development on the Beltline. That's kind of similar to like Ponce City Market area. So big development, huge, 22 acres. We're on that team to develop that area. That's right in Adair Park in the southwest side of LA there too.
Wow.
Yeah, and do some other multifamily stuff there. Again, the whole idea is the same thing, bring where we can make some affordable units with market rate units and redevelop the area so that it's better for everybody that lives there.
I love it. I love it. So you all going to look to hold the multifamily units as rentals, or are these going to be condominium
different
for sale units?
And that, it's great you got all these real estate investing classes. That's a whole nother like the way of thinking about real estate, right?
Absolutely.
It's so it is buy and hold, but typically the multifamily model is the model whereby you get equity investors as well as bank financing. You build it, you get it rented out, stabilized, and then typically you sell that unit. So it's usually it's almost like a flip, but it's a longer term flip and a different business model arrangement with that.
Yeah.
Ideally, but for us, too, we'd like to have a mix of that where we're doing some of that, but we also want to be able to buy and hold and keep property on that, because again, that's the only way you kind of build like long-term wealth.
Absolutely.
Holding property.
Absolutely. It's amazing. You mentioned the co-op model. So basically you all are going to give the residents an opportunity to buy into to invest into the project.
Yeah, because not just the residents, but the residents and people in the neighborhood to buy it. Yeah,
I love it.
Yes, they can all buy in. So I think it's one of the first of its kind in the country. So don't quote me on that, but I know it's a new model.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great. We have to come and talk about it. Do a video on it and showcase it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's awesome, man. So how many projects are y'all doing annually right now?
Annually? That's tough, because a single family right now we're about 20 a year right now.
Okay.
And we're looking to scale that to about 30 to 50 a year.
Okay.
And then on our multifamily, multifamily is a different wavelength because it takes so long to get things permitted, but we probably have about I'd probably say a couple hundred in the pipeline right now.
Okay.
Yeah, the pipeline. But again, pipelines could take, hope it takes 2 years. Initially, like you asked me this like a year and a half ago, I'm like, yeah, we have tons. We have thousands of units in the pipeline.
Got it.
But with interest rates, it really slowed a lot of things down.
Gotcha.
But we're still pushing through. I mean, that's what you do in business. You hit, then you go around the wall. You got to get around the wall.
You got to keep working. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing is like the housing demand is still strong.
Yeah.
And it's not going anywhere. It's actually only getting worse because with interest rates going up, there's going to be less building.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
it's still a need, but yeah, it's that kind of a unique situation. Like normally, like the demand kind of comes down when the supply is that way in these like economic situations. But now the demand is still high, and we just can't pump out enough stuff. Yeah, because of stuff. So
amazing.
Yeah, I think most people who are in this, if you can just like maintain through this period and still push our product, which is still doable, as soon as things kind of get better, I mean, you'd be in a good position to be able to like really win at this whole thing.
Gotcha. So you mentioned like these 3 houses that, like one we're sitting in right now, you have 2 next door. This is a prototype. Like what's the plan for this prototype?
Yeah, so the plan is we wanted to get a model, because one thing, when we met, I was flipping houses, right? Okay. Although we add second stories, we try to do like, make it like new. It's a great model if you're at a certain volume, right? If you're doing a couple houses a year, maybe just 1 a year. When you think about it from a return on investment standpoint, like you put in so much money, you're gonna get so much money back, you're doing better than the stock market. But it's not a very scalable model, right? It's hard to do 5, 10 of those, 20, 30 of those, unless you have more of a production mindset.
Right.
Production builders, typically they have a few models, and it's outdoor manufacturing, you're manufacturing the houses.
Absolutely.
So you have to simplify the model, you have to installation build it quickly and more efficiently. So these are the prototypes. We wanted to make sure we learn everything we could from it, like how to build it right, where to source the material, how much exact material there is, so we don't have that much waste, and get that model together so that we can go on and repeat this. So it's 2 parts. One is just getting the basic manufacturing framework down, or production framework down, and the other side is also testing to see what do we like and what we don't like. Sometimes I think people jump too far ahead, like it's gonna be dope, it's gonna be great, and then you realize like you come in like, your living room is a little too small, right? And then so buyers don't like that. They don't tell you, but they don't like that.
Gotcha.
You want to know that, next one I want to make the living room a little bigger, make the kitchen a little smaller, tweak those certain things to say, okay, now when I go to production to really start pumping this out, boom, I've got a good model that can pump this out.
Gotcha.
So yeah, like I said, our goal is to do this by, of course, the floor plan. Once we have a good floor plan, I think we've got 80% there. Change the facade a little bit here and there, so there's some differentiation. But if it's a great product, people really love it, pump this out by the thousands if we can.
Awesome. Like regionally, nationally, here in Georgia?
I'm thinking that the great thing I think is that I really like the Southeast region, because I think with our temperature and weather here, you'll be able to make the best use of something like a courtyard. Of course, California, the West Coast, you can do the same thing here too, but I feel like there's so much room from like all the way from like North Carolina down to like Texas that this exact same model could work well.
Love it.
Yeah,
Love
that's
it.
the goal.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, look, I appreciate everything you shared, right? The real estate property community, right? Like they're eager to like learn how they can do some of this, right?
Yeah.
So I have five quick questions I want to ask you, right? To pull some of this knowledge out of you, right? Because real estate property is, our goal is really simple. It's to help investors succeed, okay? And bringing on individuals like yourself that's obviously succeeding in the business, you know a lot of information, right? Yeah. So it's my job to pull it out of you now, right?
I appreciate that.
So I've boiled, real estate success, real estate investing, real estate business success. Really, I've simplified it, right? And I'm kind of a simple guy. I've simplified it into really 5 steps.
Okay. All
right. The first is being really identifying a project, right? The second one being, analyzing that project, right? The third one being acquiring or control that product, right? Like, you can either acquire or you can control it, right?
Right, you can do different ways.
Absolutely. The fourth being add value, right?
Yep.
And the fifth being property, right? Obviously, thus real estate property, right? Yeah. So let's start with number 1. For someone watching this, listening to it, either on YouTube or on Spotify or wherever they're listening or watching, and they want to start doing some real estate deals, right? Whether it's, renovations, whether it's new construction, what would you recommend in terms of acquiring a deal?
Acquiring a deal.
Well, excuse me, we need to start at the beginning. Like, how do you identify a particular property? Like this property right here, I mean, it was 3 lots just sitting here on this corner, right? Not bothering anybody, right? You all identified it. In my mind, that's number 1. Like, how do you identify a good deal?
So identifying a good deal, to me, the first and probably the most important thing is knowing an area very well, right? There's a lot of value in knowledge, and I think it's underappreciated sometimes. And it could be a very niche knowledge, right? So we've typically worked, like when I mentioned, we work in Southwest and West Atlanta. Even in those areas, every street and neighborhood is different. You have to know those areas, know those values like the back of your hand.
Gotcha.
That's where somebody like who's even bigger or more resources, they can't just get that overnight. You have to like either acquire it over time, or like meet somebody who has that. So to me, the identifying knowledge, I search in a specific area and say, hey, let me learn this area like the back of my hand, so that when a deal comes out, you're not spending a week. Because good deals, I mean, I remember back in the day, like, you remember this back in probably 04 to 06, you didn't have like a week to think about a deal. Like, you had to put an offer within an hour when it came out of MLS. Like, you need to know.
Exactly.
That's a good deal. And to me, the only way you kind of really know that type of stuff is to like be in an area to know like, oh, that's listed for 70, it's worth 80. All right, great. Here's my offer. I don't even need due diligence. Like, I mean, I know the area. I know there's a stream behind it or not. I know stuff that I can kind of go through my checklist. I mean, still do like if you can't do the due diligence thing, but you're not afraid to put down a bunch of earnest money because you know with certainty that that's what it is.
I love it. I love it. So in other words, what you're saying is you need to know your market.
Yeah, know your market. Know your market.
Awesome.
We got to know your market. Yeah.
So that's number one. In order to identify a great deal, whatever it is, if it's for new construction or if it's for existing property, you need to know your market. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about number two. Analyze. Right? You found, just taking these three lots as an example, right? You identified this property. You had to do some kind of analysis, right? You had to analyze it to see if this was going to work for what you're looking to do. Like, how would you tackle the analyzing of a deal?
I say that's where you need to really have, that's another level of knowledge, right? Market is one thing where you kind of know like the general area and what numbers are going for. There's another thing to know a little bit more the ins and outs of what a lot can and cannot do.
Okay.
So there's certain things like zoning you need to know, like, and zoning just means, can I build a house there? Can I build an apartment building there? Because that's going to dictate the value which you can do that. Is there a stream there? Are there rocks there? Certain things. I advise getting a checklist. And I think there are a bunch of resources and some mentors you can get to help and learn that knowledge, but learn that knowledge to know what can happen on a lot. And that's one thing, just the terrain, so knowing the terrain. Then the second part is also knowing the product, right? So what product do you specialize in? So some guys, like if you do apartments, you'll look at a single family lot and you just walk by it every single day. If you're a single family guy, you're like, oh, that's gold, right?
Exactly,
So when you know your niche and say, hey, this is what I do, it's easy to say this lot fits here. So now I can analyze that deal and analyze, and I know my numbers. And that's a big thing I think a lot of real estate professionals miss, is knowing the numbers, because they typically, you may rely on an outside contractor, which is perfectly fine, but like you should still, even though you're relying on certain things, you need to kind of have a good handle on your numbers, because this is really a number. I mean, business is not a numbers game. That's all it is. Whatever you bought or whatever you're adding must be less than what you're going to sell for, right? That's what it is.
Right. At the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day. If you don't know those numbers well, then you're setting yourself up for failure early on, and you're putting yourself through a lot of unnecessary headache going on. I say, get some understanding of the terrain and how land works, and then also know what type of products you want to do, and know those numbers well. So now you can start really analyzing a deal to say, does this deal work for me? Does this house work for me for my numbers? Does this land work for me? Whatever it is that you're going into.
I love it. Okay, number three. Basically, that's acquiring / getting control. Right? Like, what would you say about that particular step in the process?
Acquisition. That's a good question, because acquisition, I'm glad you phrased that as acquisition of control, because most people just think I've got to acquire it, which takes usually a lot more money behind it. Acquiring is technically safer because now you completely own it, but you can have the same benefits by controlling the land as you do when you acquire it.
Absolutely.
Right, with a whole lot less money down. So in controlling it, you can just have it in the contract for a period of time, and then you can sell for more money once you recognize the value, right? That's like what a lot of wholesalers do, which is a great model. I'd say really, again, understand your model, understand timing, and realize that real estate is, unlike HGTV, things don't move as quick as everybody wants it to. Right?
Definitely.
And so understand your model and timing, and then figure out how you want to structure it. If you think that you've got a great deal and you could possibly sell the same thing you got for a bit more money later on, just control it, right? Just control it. If you're going to add value to it, typically the best, this is just my opinion, the best thing is to actually acquire it and find a way to acquire it. You could get a loan to do it, right? So you're not putting all the money out for it, but acquiring, because if you add value, you don't want that thing to somehow be contentious with, somebody that says it's mine now, and now you don't actually own the thing.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And make sure you're working with a good attorney.
Yeah,
right?
good attorney, good attorney, good lenders. Make sure you got good rates behind it.
Totally.
You know, the best you can for what you plan on doing. Yeah, and the right terms, and then take it from there.
Awesome,
Yeah.
awesome. Okay.
Good attorney's right.
So let's go to number 4. Right. Number 4 is adding value.
Yeah.
Right. So you've identified the property, you've analyzed the property, you've acquired or you now control the property. Now you need to add value, right?
Yeah.
Like, what would you say about that particular phase in this real estate, framework, this real estate property framework?
Yeah. In the ideal world, I know what you can probably talk a lot more about is you get it below value, so you have value already, right? That's the ideal situation.
Okay.
And like I said, you make money by buying good deals ahead of time. But in adding value, for us, that's our niche now in terms of building the houses on it, right? We know the cost to build the houses. We have a strategic mission that says what differentiates our houses from other houses on the market. And that kind of came from back in 06 and 08 when things were very, very tough and competitive, right?
Okay.
We wanted to make sure we had a good product, so that's why we really focused on design and make sure we had a great product that came out compared to somebody else. So you have that together. And then again, usually the construction process is what adds the value to the land, right? The other ways you could do it, you can just clear the land and add more value. There are actually other ways where you can actually just what we call entitle it. So if it's zoned for residential and you can get it zoned for more density, when I can put townhouses on it, boom, you just increase the value because now it's, I don't say 3 times, but you increase the value and you can sell that land for more money. So, and in those situations, it could be just good to control it, add the value, and then sell it for more money, right? So the different avenues of doing it, I say I wouldn't just limit myself to saying, which I know I'm guilty of lots of times because we build houses and I like building houses. So it's like, oh, every hammer, every nail, every tool is a hammer, right?
That's right.
Yeah, but it's like, you can think about different things. Like, I could really just rezone this land and sell it to somebody else who wants to build a house.
Which a lot of people do. That's their model. That's their business model, right?
Exactly.
They just divide land or, like you said, entitled land.
Yeah, entitled land. Yeah. So the different ways to skin a cat on that thing. It's a good way to think outside the box to figure out how can I add value?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love it, man. I love it. So the 5th and final one, which is kind of also a gimme, and that's profit, right?
Yeah. That's a gimme though, because that's
True. What are your thoughts on the last and final phase? Once you add the value, right? Now ideally the goal is to extract that value in the form of profit, right? What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's essential. It's to me, it's almost and I've been guilty of this. It's almost a sin not to profit on something. I don't mean that in a greedy way, just greedy. But if you're not being fiscally wise and responsible with the money that's been entrusted with you to create value and create profit, then you're doing something wrong, right? And so it's imperative that you find ways to make sure you tweak your model so that you make that happen. And sometimes I hear in real estate, you hear all the time I made $100,000 on a deal. I made $100,000 on a deal. I also not to be worried with that. It's doable. I've seen that. I've done that in some deals, but I say all the time, I've heard of easy money, but I've never experienced or seen it myself. Right? I've never seen it myself. So I'm sure it's out there, but it's just in terms of profit, the one way we've tried to make sure that we get better at maximizing our profit and making sure that we're responsible with our stuff is by making sure that we have a pro forma. So the pro forma is just an Excel document that specifies this, how much I bought the land for, how much I'm paying in interest, how much I'm gonna spend on the thing. I've got a budget, so it's not like I'm just spending money willy-nilly hoping this is gonna be a profit at the end of the day. I think in the past, we're guilty of that. We're like, we should make about $100,000 on this thing, but you look back and you realize that most of the money went to the lender because you took 2 years to do the project, right? So it just kind of happened. So having that and then being disciplined to follow that and that be your guide to make sure that profit comes at the end.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
I love it.
So that's what my mindset is now. I mean, we're constantly growing through this whole thing. That's what we're trying to do.
I love it, man. Well, you have just given us a master class, right?
I appreciate that.
That was a real estate property master class, right?
On learn from my pain. That's great.
on the real estate property framework, right? So I appreciate that, man.
Great.
Wole, man, it was a pleasure. I appreciate you taking the time out of your schedule to show us your project here. We're gonna have to come and see some of your other projects. But I appreciate you taking time out of your schedule. You're obviously busy, and getting on camera and sharing your knowledge and sharing your story with us.
Yeah.
So definitely appreciate it, man.
I appreciate it. I appreciate you doing this. This is really great what you're doing.
I love
this
it.
knowledge of the world. This is awesome.
Absolutely. I mean, look, when I can take time out of my day to sit down with extremely smart individuals like yourself, right, that are doing amazing things in the industry. I mean, it's my dream job.
I'll
yeah,
take
absolutely.
That. I appreciate that.
Absolutely, man. How can people find you, either online or off, or how can they connect with you?
Online, and again, we are not great at social media, but we're going to get better at it. But
Okay.
so our website, urbanoasisdevelopment.com, is the easy way. We do have LinkedIn, Instagram as well too. It'll be getting better over time, but we do have those things where you can find us from there.
Awesome. We'll definitely make sure we, link you up, once this goes out.
Yeah.
And looking forward to seeing what the future holds, man.
Yeah. And I appreciate it. Likewise, man. Likewise.
Awesome.
All right, man.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right.
Did it. W's on it, I've been winning. Go. Okay, let's get it.
Hey guys, look, if you made it this far, you are officially a real estate profiteer. So I hope you enjoyed that video. And look, if you haven't already, go ahead, hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you'll be notified every time we drop some amazing real estate investing content. Last but not least, you can check this video out right here. It's one of our most popular videos on our channel. This one right here is a video that we'll know you love as well. Real estate property, let's go.